Well, we're excited to be back. The recruiting part is wrapping up. It's not quite over yet. We still got to battle a little bit this weekend for a couple guys, which is fun. We're excited to get the spring ball rolling. I know it's a little bit earlier than normal for you, for most everybody in here, not for me. This is kind of what I prefer. And for a young football team, this is going to be just huge. And so they've done a good job in the weight room so far. They got back January 7th, and Coach Connolly has done a phenomenal job with those guys, and we've got a bunch of interested players that are they're ready to go. I mean, they're actually going to go out and run here in a little bit. The offense just got done lifting. Defense is going to lift again. So we're going towards the direction of starting one of my favorite times of year. Go ahead.
Coach,
Yes.
Richard Sines, Fox 10. You guys had such great success in this first year for this group of coaches and players. How does that help in recruiting and excitement going into the next season?
I think it helps tremendously. I mean, winning cures all and everything, and we did not, in my opinion, we didn't meet our expectation of what we thought we were capable of doing. Okay. Some people out there thought we did better than we should. I mean, we were picked last. They picked us to win anywhere from 2 to 4 games. I thought that was not a good choice. We won 7. We could have won. We should have won more. And now we have a very young football team that wore down at the end of the year, and it's very evident on film as you go through and you watch and we do our self-scout stuff. That's why I think this part of our program and building our culture and building who we want to be is a huge towards development.
Rubino Devils Digest, Danny, looking spring practice going to 2019 season, is it fair to say that you have more questions to answer at the defensive line compared to the linebackers in the secondary?
Well, the guys that are going to start, especially the first 3 up front, between George Lee and Shannon Foreman and Lole, and even DJ Davidson, who we won't have for spring to a degree, those guys have proven that they can play at an elite level in the Pac-12. So we don't have questions there. The questions that we will have, Michael Matus, we'll see his first real action with these guys. And then Jalen Bates started out strong, kind of wore down a little bit. He has worked his tail off, so I'm really excited to see what he can do. And the same with Darius Slade. I mean, I just talked to both those guys a second ago down in the weight room, and they're chomping at the bit, which is good because they've taken a challenge to it. They want to see their roles increased. And so instead of complaining about it and blaming somebody else, they're taking accountability to try and get themselves better so that they can push. And the greatest thing that we have right now is we've got competition at a lot of spots, especially in the secondary. Now that competition will increase once we get to fall. The good thing is I've heard a lot of things and reading the news. I read all the newspaper. I listen to all you guys because I love all that stuff. That doesn't bother me. When you start talking bad about us, that's great. I love it. Doesn't bother me. When you stop talking about us, it means you don't care and you've lost interest. That's when you've got a problem. So all those things I read about how short of bodies we are for spring and all that stuff, we're not really super short on bodies because once we build our program like we're going and you have 20 to 22 seniors in your program and those guys leave, these are the numbers that we will see every year in spring ball. When you have 2 deep, 3 deep, I mean, when you lose 20 seniors and you don't get to replace those guys until the fall, those bodies aren't there for spring. So you get to beat the tar out of the ones that are here. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
Chris, and then if you can pass it back to Joe.
Chris Cartman, Son of a Source. Danny, when you know your personnel after a year of being on the job and with so many guys that are returning, how does that change what you do at the outset of spring ball or really throughout your installs and all that?
The emphasis on this spring will be very similar to last year. I talked about when I first got here about effort and running to the football. The guys that were here for the last entire year, the year that I've been here, that went through spring ball and played in the season, they have a better understanding of what they're getting themselves into starting Tuesday. The young guys that played, the 5 true freshmen that played, and those guys, they have no idea. And so our model will be very similar to last year because those guys wore down. They didn't play very hard at the end of the year. And part of that is they got worn out, and part of that is coaching. We need to do a better job as a coaching staff on defense to make sure that those guys understand there's only one way to do it. We got out of that a little bit towards the end, and I'll take the blame for this. There was such a drop-off in ability between some of those guys that were playing and the guys behind them that I lived with some poor effort. Well, that ain't happening anymore. And they've got to understand that either the guys behind them have to step up or the guys in front of them need to play harder. And that is the model of this spring. Now, the other challenge that we're going to have, and this is kind of exciting, we have 4 quarterbacks that have 0 experience. Dylan's played a little bit. The other ones have played none at this level. And so to give them what we do every single day would not be fair, because they're going to see some stuff normally that they won't see during the season during spring ball, which will make them better for it. And to give them an opportunity to be successful, we have to dial back a little bit. And when I say dial back a little bit, it may be some of the exotic looks we don't get. Now, Coach Likens might want us to go with the 4-man rush and do that every time. That ain't happening. But we'll give them a lot of that, and we'll give them an opportunity so that those guys have a chance to be successful, because they're going to see some things I mean, the difference in speed between high school and college football, especially Division I, is there's no comparison. And Nikhil and those guys are about to find out the speed between Division I football and the NFL ain't even close. So those guys have to get adjusted. So we'll have a lot of the same temperament. The perfect 10s are going to be back. Pursuit to no end, and I've got all kinds of new ideas for those guys, so that it never gets boring. At least for me, it doesn't get boring. And so that'll be the model of spring going into 2019.
Joe and then Doug.
Coach Joe Pequeno, CBS 5, AZ Family Sports. I want to get your thoughts on Coach Kane coming over for the defensive line, and along the way, 2-part question as well. Your thoughts on Merlin Robertson, what you expect from him to even increase what he did after a great freshman year.
Absolutely. So Jamar Kane, good question. Jamar Kane, our new D-line coach. We lost Coach Nua, which Jamar stepped in and has done. I mean, shoot, he's already on the road. I kind of made fun of him. He went from one shirt to the other over a weekend. Our HR department does a fabulous job here, and Mark and those guys of getting those things processed and getting it through. I've known Jamar for a long time. Jamar, the only problem I have with Jamar, he played in New Mexico State. Okay, that was our bitter rival at New Mexico, so that almost cost him working with us, but I was able to look past it. So he's done a phenomenal job in his career. If you go back and you study where he's been and what he's done, it's a very similar path to where I came from. I mean, he was at North Dakota State. They've won national championships. You have to do a really good job of evaluating and recruiting to get good players that can compete at a high level. At his time there, they beat Kansas State and Iowa. Okay, I mean that shouldn't happen. It's like the advantages that we have over some of those schools and that North Dakota State lacks against the Iowas and Kansas State. Those things shouldn't happen unless you have really good players and they're coached the right way. He went on to Fresno State. They made an unbelievable turnaround in the 2 years that Coach Tedford's been there. I mean, unbelievable. Going from 1-11 to winning 12 2 years later, and him being a big part of that staff. Now, Coach O, who was the defensive coordinator there 2 years ago, I knew him. He had nothing but great things to say about Jamar. Coach Tedford, really, they didn't want to lose him. But it's the nature of this beast. And we've got a list of people that we are comfortable working with, that we know what their work ethic is, and we know where they're going to come from, how they're going to do things, how they're going to mold with us. Because I think when you, and I've said it a million times, when you trust and like the people you work for, you have a lot more opportunity to be successful, and the job is better. And he's got 2 young kids, 12 and 10, that are going to be here. His wife is wonderful. So, I mean, they're going to fit right into our family, and seeing all the kids running around in our building the way, I mean, it's a great deal, and he'll do a great job. And then productivity on the field, his track record speaks for itself, and he does a great job. The best part of the Jamar deal was, so I took him around last week to visit all of our defensive linemen that we have committed. And as we walked into the room, they jumped up and said, "Hey, Coach Kane," before I even had to introduce him. So he's put himself out there trying to get on guys that they might have not been able to attain, but he's taking a swing, and we're going to continue to do that in recruiting. Second question, Merlin Robertson. Merlin Robertson, we missed him in the bowl game. He's back here working his tail off in the weight room with everybody else. Meet with that young man all the time. I mean, whether it's on FaceTime because I'm out on the road, or whether it's here in the office. And we are expecting big things from him. Big things and more than just playing on the field. He's got to be a leader off the field. He's got to be a leader amongst his teammates. I think the best thing that those guys did, especially the true freshmen that were playing on defense, is they did a nice job in the classroom, which when you get into playing big-time football, and now you're being a student too, a lot of times for those young guys it becomes overwhelming. And our academic staff did a great job. Coach Connolly holding those guys accountable for not missing that stuff did a great job. And so we're a step ahead of the game. We don't have anybody that in that group that's in academic trouble, so that they know what it takes now to be successful both on and off the field. And we talk about it all the time in recruiting. There's three aspects to these guys being college football players. There's the academic, there's football, and there's social life. And you can be really good at 2 of 3. And if you make your social life your priority, the other 2 stink. And they've done a pretty good job of prioritizing what's important to give them a chance to be successful, and Merlin's a big leader in that. Sir.
You seem, with those 3 young linebackers, you seem pretty set there. What's your situation with the depth behind them?
Depth behind them. So Kyle Soley, I don't think Kyle Soley gets as much credit as he deserves from myself nor people out there. He doesn't always look flashy. He's not as athletic and he's not as big as those guys, but he's just productive. And when you're productive, that's all that matters. It's assignment, effort, make plays. Those are the 3 criteria that you need to be a really successful football player. He knows what to do all the time. His effort, I mean, he's one of those ones that's been here since last spring, so he gets it. And then he makes plays. He makes unathletic plays that are unbelievable. I mean, I see some stuff developing on game day, and I'm like, oh, God, here we go. And all of a sudden, he snags a shoelace. So between him and Kalen Thomas, those 2 have proven that they can play up to our expectation. Kalen needs to get a little bit better playing on the line of scrimmage as well as off, because he's going to have to do both this year. And then the young development of Reggie Hughes. We won't have Stanley Lambert for this spring, so he's got a long way to go so that he can make up what he's going to miss. Reggie Hughes, we'll see how he develops. And then depending on what we get into fall camp with, whether we have more DBs than we do linebackers at times, or that we think can play at a high competitive level, or whether we get a couple of those guys that come in. There's a walk-on that's been on a mission named Case Hatch that's going to be in spring ball. He's going to, I mean, there's a lot of positive energy about him that we're excited to see what he can do. I've never seen, so in my 20 years, I've seen kids come off mission, and it takes them a while to get back into shape and get accustomed to things, because, I mean, mission is a very, very hard and detailed work that they work their tails off. This young man looks better than anybody I've ever seen coming off a mission. So I'm really excited for him and give him a lot of credit for being able to maintain that during his mission. So we're excited for him. And then, like I said, we'll look at our 22 best players at the end of spring ball. I have an idea of who they are going into spring ball. And then we'll design how we need to make sure that we have plenty of depth at those spots. But I don't see, I mean, we played 5 to 6 last year, and barring injury, we'll have the same 5 to 6 that we play this year, and they'll be a year better for it. Case Hatch.
Hey, Coach, Kirsten Susel, 12 News. Just going off of your comment on, the drop-off on the depth chart, what is your philosophy in practice, and especially in spring practice, to make sure that those guys, not just the ones, but everybody, is getting the reps that they need so that there isn't a drop-off?
So with 26 guys that we have on the defensive side of the ball, that won't be an issue at all. Especially the way that we practice around here, we go really fast. I mean, during the 7-on-7 periods, they rotate in every play, and they chase balls, whether they're incomplete, complete, it doesn't matter. They better be going full speed tail to get to it. So those guys will get a ton of reps. They're going to get more reps than they're actually prepared for condition-wise. And then the way we have design practice, I mean, Coach Likens has a lot tougher job than I do trying to get reps for all 4 of those quarterbacks. Now, they'll get all 4 of those guys will get reps the first 2 weeks. And then as we decide and really they decide for themselves who's better amongst those guys, then the ones they'll hone in on, and they'll start getting more reps than that. So the team side of it, with 2 groups and a couple extra guys, those guys are going to be worn out. And I'm telling you, this is like Christmas for me. I mean, I'm excited.
Who else? Pass it up to Chris there.
Danny, can you talk about Tamarcus Davis, the Baylor transfer who won
Yes.
the Scout Team Player of the Year honor?
Tamarcus is a very twitchy, very athletic, physical football player. He is, and you'll see it through spring ball, he's the prototypical DB that we want. He will throw his body up in there. Now he needs to gain a little bit of weight still in the weight room. He's busted his tail during all of fall season. The Scout Team Player of the Year was well earned. I mean, he was going against those guys, the wideouts, and giving them fits, whether it was Nikhil, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle. I mean, everybody talks about what a great blocker Kyle Williams is because he had to work his tail off all year messing with Tamarcus. He's got the tangibles to compete at a very high level. I mean, the great thing that they're starting to understand and the establishment of our culture here is nobody's safe. Meaning Chase Lucas and Kobe Williams, they know they're not just penciling at starters because they've been the starters the last 2 years. If Tamarcus comes in here and whoops their tail during the spring and fall, then all of a sudden Tamarcus is going to be at the top of the depth chart. So he's going to start behind Chase. So Chase is he knows that there's competition, and the best thing about that is Chase has responded to it. I thought Chase came into the last year with big eyes of how wonderful this is going to be, and he got humbled a little bit. And I talk about it all the time. What happened at Colorado to that young man and the way he responded and got better towards the end of the year says a lot about him. Because when you have a day like he did, you can be ruined. And he struggled for about a week and a half. He felt sorry for him. He saw that nobody else around here was, and I thought Coach White did a tremendous job keeping his confidence up. And he finished the year pretty strong. Now, he still tackles with his back. And I say it all the time, guys that tackle with their back are bad tacklers. So we're going to spend more time this spring than we did last year, because we have some establishment of our culture of messing with the tackling portion and how we can do that. And we can tackle. I mean, we'll be out there for all you guys that want to be practice tomorrow. I mean, Tuesday, we're going to be tackling live all the way to the ground in just helmets. And we've got our former rugby coach who's going to be out there with us, that we've been meeting with to do some tactics so that we can do that stuff without pads on, just to get those guys better at body position. Because, I mean, that's the most important thing. There's two things to being a good tackler. One, you have to have total disregard and not care about your body, which most of our guys do. The ones that turn their backs don't, and we're working on that, Chase. So as we get going through spring ball, you're going to see a lot of tackling without pads, with pads, so that we have an opportunity. The other part of that deal is running to the football. If you miss a tackle, but you've got 4 or 5 guys there, and we had a lot of success with that last year, we didn't give up a ton of big plays after the catch because of that. Now, we got beat on a couple of deep balls late in the season that we need to fix so that we don't, if we want to be dominating, and that's our plan around here, we want to dominate the other side of the football. Those guys need to continue with that same mindset, and that's the direction we're heading. I mean, we have everything you need here to be successful. We need players, and I think the coaches have done a great job through this recruiting cycle. Coach Luganville and his staff have done an unbelievable job of identifying kids that nobody knows about, that everybody knows about. The model that we've gone, I think AP has done a fantastic job as the recruiting coordinator. His voice of our program out there on the road has been just, I mean, he's a rock star. And what he's done is he lays the groundwork, and then all the rest of our assistants come through and road grade and finish developing those relationships. And when you have a voice and a brand like AP, you can get into a lot of houses that you wouldn't normally get. And now, we give AP a lot of credit, which is all deserved. The other 9 coaches around him that are out on the road. Now, Coach Edwards he's a little different deal, but the other 9 are doing a phenomenal job and don't get as much credit as they deserve in building this class, in building the structure and culture and the recruiting. And then Coach Luganville's group, it's the best thing I've ever been around, and it's going to give us an opportunity to compete at the highest of levels. And Arizona State is a destination job. Arizona State can compete for the CFP on an annual basis once the culture is set and we continue to recruit the right kids. We're going to get the best ones that we get out of Arizona. We're going to get the ones we want out of Arizona. And we're not taking the ones that anybody tells us. We're not taking the ones that are supposed to be good on paper. We're going to take the best players. Now, we're going to swing at all of them, okay, just like we did this year. And as we continue to win, that's what it's all about, winning. As we continue to win and build this thing up, they're going to stay home. And then the ones that we get from around the country, I mean, you have to do a really good job with the evaluating now, because we're going to be based out of California and Arizona. And if you go back, like I said 100 times, the tradition, the 87 Rose Bowl champions that beat Michigan, and then the 96 team that was 31 seconds away from winning the national title, okay? Both those teams had great quarterbacks. Both those teams were California and Arizona laden, and both of them were physical, tough, dominant teams. They mirrored what Coach Cush was able to do back all the way up through the 70s when they joined the Pac-8 and made it the Pac-10 in 1978. Okay, those two championships, the two Rose Bowl appearances in that time, that's what we aspire to compete for every year. We screwed up an opportunity at Oregon this year by playing really bad defense in the first half. We intercept that ball with 3:49. There was no doubt in my mind we had just come back and won that football game, and then we fumble and we jump off sides on third down and an opportunity to get the ball back. Okay, the 2-point conversion, whether it's there or not, doesn't matter. That didn't win or lose the football game. We had many opportunities during the game. We give up a 58-yard touchdown. We give up a 3rd and 4 right before half. Those are the things that we need to fix. But we have the ability and we have the guys that believe in what we're doing. If we win that game and we have a chance to play for the Pac-12 championship in year 1, does it change anything from our culture right now? Absolutely not. It gave us, we had the same amount of practices, we would have had one more game. That's the one thing that breaks my heart the most, is because we could have beaten Washington. We almost beat them the first time. We had an opportunity. With the direction and the excitement and the enthusiasm and the interest that we have from the players in the weight room and our strength coaches, there are going to be a lot of happy people around here as we continue to build this thing. And you shouldn't, I mean, I've been doing this long enough to know that you shouldn't say things and lay out expectations that are unattainable. Well, I will never say something that I don't think we can attain as long as I'm here. And that's the direction we're heading.
Last two for Danny. Pass it back to Joe there, and then Richard.
Coach, congratulations on being promoted to assistant head coach. I want to get your thoughts on that, and as well as, is your ultimate goal to be a head football coach?
First off, the thank you for the promotion to be an assistant head coach. Coach Edwards has been just awesome to me. The administration has been fantastic. When you are successful and you have people can see good things happening, you get opportunities. And I'm very honored that Coach Edwards and the administration wanted to give me go in that direction. Aspirations of being a head coach. I think when you warrant stuff, people offer it to you. And I don't believe in the whole supply and demand of coaching. I don't believe just because somebody offers you something more that you deserve more. I think you deserve more because it's based on merit. You get what you get because you earn it. And head coach, sometimes the best part of being a head coach is that paycheck. There's no doubt, because you lose a lot of ability to do things because of all the other things that you have to deal with. Okay, the stuff that goes through Coach Edwards' desk, and he's been awesome to me. Everything that he gets through that he has to deal with, he's like, hey, one of these days you're gonna have to deal with stuff. This is how we're doing it. This is what we're going through, and I think that's invaluable experience that he's afforded me the opportunity to do that. Like I said, Arizona State is a destination job. It's not a place that you come to looking to go somewhere better. It's a place that you come to build, to be a national contender, and an opportunity to win the Pac-12 every year. And I love Arizona. I want to be here. And so I'm not driven by other things that some coaches are driven by. I ultimately want to win. That's all I care about, is winning. I hate losing more than I enjoy winning, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it is who I am. My wife's the one that has to deal with that, and that's okay. But the time that we've had the last year here in Tempe for my family, my kids, and building this football program, it's a very special place. And I have a vision of making this place something really, really unique. And so aspirations of being head coach, if that opportunity is given to me someday, then we'll look at that. But I mean, I have a desire to win and compete, and you get awarded based on merit, and that's my belief.
I have a two-part question here. How far ahead are you guys this year compared to last year? Now that you've had a year under your belt, you've got some proof in the pudding, you've got the culture set like you kind of touched on. And then the second part of that question is, how much can this competition at the quarterback position help your defense when you consider you have several different types of quarterbacks that you guys will be practicing against from the pro-style quarterback to the quarterback?
I think that's a great question. I think that's one thing I'm really excited for, because we have 4 different quarterbacks, and they all have 4 different styles. The best thing about all 4 of those guys is all 4 of them have just unbelievable arms. They've got great arm talent that is God-given, and it's Coach Likens' job to get those guys to put that God-given talent to perfect use. It gives us an opportunity on defense to prepare for 4 different styles of quarterback. So as we get going through the spring and we see how Coach Likens calls the offense, it gives us an opportunity, and it's really good for a play caller, and we'll give some of our coaches on defense an opportunity to call plays in some of those situations. It gives those guys an opportunity to get a different feel against a different quarterback. So it's almost like preparing for a different team during spring, which gives us a lot of flexibility, because you guys will notice that there will be those 4 quarterbacks. They'll all be given the same plays. And some plays they'll be good at, and some plays the other guy will be good at. And so we'll have to figure out, okay, if one of those guys is a really good zone read guy and we have to make sure he doesn't keep the football, then we'll do some stuff based on that, so that when we go against a Tyler Huntley from Utah, or Shelley, who ended up being their backup quarterback, we've got a plan to go against that. If one of them is more like JT Daniels from SC and can throw it and try and pick you apart, which we didn't get the opportunity to play this year, then we can put some kind of a package together so that we can defend him that way. I think the best part of it is now, it used to be when a quarterback didn't make it at the quarterback spot, they were such a good athlete they wanted to play. That ain't the case nowadays. Most of those guys want to play quarterback, which that's what they've done since they were little kids. And so they find the best opportunity for them to play quarterback. If any of those guys want to come over and play defense or play another position, we will gladly take it. Because they're all 3, really, even Dylan. Now Dylan is 4 years into it, and he's a quarterback at heart, but Dylan could be a freaking fullback, H-back, a linebacker from his body. I mean, and give Dylan a lot of credit, and don't count him out in this race, because the young man has busted his tail. He looks good. I mean, he's lost about 20 pounds, which probably needed to. And the young man just looks phenomenal, and he's done a great job of being a leader in the locker room with these off-season workouts and going into the spring. I mean, he's going to be given his opportunity because he's earned it being here, and with his, obviously he has the ability. But one of those 4 guys, and most likely 2 of them will establish themselves, so we'll have a better idea going into the fall who the competition is going to be between. And then during fall camp, one of those guys will establish themselves. And if we got a couple of them, then Coach Likens will have quite a challenge on figuring out how he's going to get both of them to play and all that good stuff. I don't have to worry about that. All I have to worry about is don't give up points and stop yards. And that's why we do this. I mean, this has been a different cycle this year. I mean, usually I'm used to starting spring ball the middle of February. I've never started at the week of signing day, which I'm super excited about. Being on the road recruiting, I mean, we've been in Georgia, we've been in San Francisco, we've been in LA, been all over the place. And being able to sit on, a 3-hour plane ride to Georgia, I got more work done doing our self-scout stuff on that period than I could have been here in the office, because nobody's bothering me other than a steward asking if I want a soda or something. So I mean, it's perfect. I mean, you get all that time, and so all the recruiting and traveling and the caravan recruiting that we've done, which is, I mean, it's interesting when you have success with something, all of a sudden now we pop up on a school and there's somebody else that has 5 or 6, 7, 8 coaches. That's a good thing. When people want to be like you, it means you're doing something right. So we've got that going, but being able to drive around in the car and being able to work as opposed to going from school to school in the car and having the other coaches around there so you can bounce ideas off of has been, I mean, usually you have to sit in a room, in a film room to be able to do this stuff, and we've been able to drive around in a car, stop out, go say hi to coaches and players, and then get back in the car and continue talking about how we're going to be successful and what we're going to do on defense to stop all this stuff. So it's been great. I mean, having this cycle start in February and then the 2 7-week cycles that we have in the weight room, that is so important to the culture of our team. It's so important for the development of our team. We're going to be tremendously better because of it. And it gives us a chance to compete next year and start off the right way.